recuse myself from that item as well. Guide share money because the town of Lexington is specifically noted in that. It's part of that project. So, Mr. Epson.
Hello.
Hello, how are y'all today?
Very good, thank you.
Good.
No, it's okay. It'll stop. It's pressure on. I'm good.
There you go. You're welcome.
Callers is on the line.
What happened? How come it's not showing me?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah,
Hello,
this is Bob
everybody.
Liming. is Bob Liming, City of Columbia.
Hey, Mr. Liming, how are you?
Confused. I have no visual ability, so I'm just going to be audio, and I hope I don't interrupt at the wrong time.
You'll be fine.
Thank you so much, and appreciate you all trying to do this.
Jessica,
Paul, this is present on the phone.
Hey, Mr. Livingston.
Debbie Summers here on the phone.
Yes, ma'am.
This is Shakise Newton. I'm here also.
Jessica Bonner Abrams is here.
Hey, Miss Abrams.
Hey, Miss Abrams.
Start the YouTube thing so people can see that we're here.
The ziplet user account. HTTP user account control. No.
Yes.
Ben, how you doing? Can't hear you.
Doing well, Miss Abrams. Thank you.
I didn't hear you.
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Good. It's good seeing you.
Good to see you. We are waiting on a few more people to join us, so if you would, please be patient with us. And we're also trying to get the YouTube channel up and going. So just a few more minutes and we'll get started.
Hope everybody's doing all right. Good to see you, man.
Hey, good to see you, Tim.
Okay, Walt, we see you made it on.
Thank you so much.
Technology.
Zoom invite. The Zoom window full.
Yeah. You the invite? 42.
Document 3. Zoom window full.
No, it goes in the back.
Save. Document 3. Microsoft Word.
I don't know why it's not
After we're finished.
Cancel. Opening Zoom 042A8 Soflex 92. Opening Zoom 042A8 Soflex 9241 F6A29 D131B29X.
Y'all get all that?
Box. Mozilla Zoom window full. Box. Mozilla Thunderbird.
We'll get started. To make things a little bit easier today, if there is a motion made on the floor, please announce your name before making the motion or making the second, so that it is easier for Jessica to record those motions and seconds. We will move into item number 3 on the agenda: approve, order, and consent of overall agenda.
So moved. Bob Liming, City of Columbia.
Thank you, Mr. Liming.
Second, Julian Dixon, Richland County.
Thank you very much. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Very good. Mr. Epps, if you don't mind, if you would offer invocation for today's meeting.
Yes, sir. I'd be glad to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let us pray, please. God, please help us with the adversity that we're all dealing with. But as we deal with this adversity, please help us to take pause and be thankful for the little things that you do for us every day. Please help us to see the birds and the trees. Please help us to understand how wonderful the world is that you provide to us. Help us to be thankful for all those little things that are around us, and help us to be aware and know that you are in control of this situation, even though we don't feel like we're in control and we don't understand where this is going. We should all take solitude in the fact that we know that you know where it's going. Please help us all to make good decisions. Please help us to make good decisions for all the people that we represent. And please guide us and keep us and help us to do your will. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Epps.
Amen.
Very good. We will move into item B, consent agenda, approval of the February 27, 2020 board meeting minutes. It's enclosure number 1 in your package.
Move to approve. Bob Liming, South Columbia.
Mr. Liming makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second, Susan Brill.
Thank you very much. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Very good. Moving into the regular agenda, item number 1, briefing on the financial and compliance report for FY 2019. Ms. Chanel Jackson, that's item number 2 in your package. Ms. Jackson.
Hi, everyone. I just want to say thank you to the staff for working with us to get the audit done. Thank you to you guys for being patient with us while we get it done. We have, and to our auditors, Alan and Vladimir, they're actually on, and they're going to give you a brief overview of the audit, the outcome, and then answer any questions you may have about it.
I'm Alan Grimsley. I'm a partner with Malden and Jenkins. We had the pleasure this year of doing the audit for the council. I had met earlier today with the executive committee, and we went over it in the audit reports in great detail. What I would like to do is to give a brief overview of it. I'd be happy to answer any questions or anything that anyone has about it as I go along, but I will just hit some of the highlights of the report. Our independent auditors report, we believe the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the council as of June 30th, 2019, in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles in the United States of America. That is the best opinion, is considered an unmodified opinion council could receive. The statements are in compliance with governmental accounting standards. I'll go to the balance sheet of the council. The council had total assets this year of $5,062,978. Has total liabilities of $3,895,721, and has a fund balance of $1,167,257, and that is all in the general fund. On the statement of revenues and expenses and changes in fund balance, the council had total revenues of $12,653,160. Of that, federal revenues represented $10,216,797. The total expenditures were $12,310,127, and there was a net change in the fund balance. There was an increase of $343,033. The fund balance, again, as of the end of the year, was $1,167,257. The council has a great many accounting notes to their financial statements. There were no significant accounting policy changes. All of these notes are required by generally accepted accounting principles. There's a great bit of detail on the liability for the council share on the state retirement system and the OPED, or the other health and welfare benefits, or health insurance really, for the council. There's also some additional required supplemental information where the budgets are compared to actual for the general fund and some of the major special revenue funds. And as part of the audit, we also were required to do a single audit due to the amount of federal funds that the council had. There were two opinions that we gave concerning compliance with governmental auditing standards, and also in accordance with the Single Audit Act, or uniform compliance or uniform guidance. We found that there were no no compliance findings in any of the programs that we tested. We did note that there were two material weaknesses in internal control over financial reporting, and those are listed in the report on page 62. And the council has responded to those with a management's corrective action plan on page 65 of the report. These were discussed, and we believe that the council will have remedies for these weaknesses in place going forward for the year ended June 30, 2020. Now, I've gone over this extremely quickly. Again, I do want to mention that we've met and went over this in detail with the executive committee, but I'd be happy to respond to any specific questions that anyone had about this.
Are there any specific questions on the financial report?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have one specifically, but I guess in a general note, were we mailed out in our packets this report? I don't show it in my packet.
No, sir. It came as a separate email from Jessica Foster.
Okay. That's what I was thinking. All right. Because of, I guess, the volume of pages.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions relating to the financial report? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the 2019?
So move, Bob Liming, City of Columbia.
Second, Julian Dixon.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. We will move right into item number 2 on the regular agenda, FY 2020-2021 UPWP enclosure number 3 in your package. I would like to take 1 second and make sure that Ms. Dickerson is with us.
Yes, I'm with y'all. I want you to know this was a very stressful. I don't know where the information went to, and you know how I feel about meetings, and I feel like I was just left out of this meeting. I could not get to it. I spent almost 45 minutes trying to get someone to get me into these meetings. So I'm here. Thank you.
I'm glad you're here. We apologize about that, but we're glad you're here with us today. All right, we will move into item number 2, enclosure number 3 in your package, Mr. Reginald Simmons.
We're requesting your approval to adopt the amended FY 2020 to 2021 Unified Planning Work Program, or UPWP. The UPWP is a planning document that's developed by the NPO that identifies those transportation planning activities that will occur in the upcoming fiscal year. In the past, the UPWP has been developed on an annual basis, request of Federal Highways and SCDOT. Each COG and NPO is developing a 2-year planning document. The UPWP contains planning projects and studies, planning analysis, implementation of the existing projects, as well as developing the TIP and the LRTP. Though this is a 2-year document, the projects and funding are reevaluated on an annual basis. For FY 2020, next slide. These are the projects that we identified as part of the UPWP. The Human Service Transportation Coordination Plan is near completion, as well as the Public Participation Plan. We are under contract with our Congestion Management Plan, Long Range Plan, and Travel Demand Model, all with WSP. We're under contract with the Saluda Greenway with 2 Design Group. We are under contract in partnership with CMRTA to perform a short-range plan, origin, destination, demographic study, as well as a comprehensive operational plan with Jed Walker and Associates. We are working in development in partnership with CMRTA to develop a regional bike share plan, and we are working on the scope of work for the regional resiliency plan. For the new projects that we're including as part of this update for FY 2021, we're working in partnership with CMRTA to develop a transit development long-range transportation plan. We also want to update our Title VI plan, look at the update of our DBE plan, Dispatching Business Enterprise Plan. We want to perform a traffic signal operational assessment, which will assist us with corridor management and congestion management throughout our regional network. USC is working on a partnership with the COMET to possibly administer their shuttle system on campus. We're going to perform a study to look at that coordination. CMRTA is nearing the federal requirements that will require them to perform a service and fare equity analysis anytime they make any kind of system changes or change the amount that it costs to use their system, which is required to service and fare equity analysis. We're going to perform a regional ITS architecture, and then we're going to continue to make our efforts known regarding commuter rail analysis. For FY 2020, we received a total of $1.6 million in planning funds through SCDOT. For FY 2021, we just received another $1.5 million of the projects that's been identified. $558,000 in the large urban FTA program was assigned last year. $2 million will be assigned this year to those FTA projects. That gives us a total of $5.7 million in federal funds. Everything is an 80-20 match, thus requiring $1.4 million in federal match, which means that the total amount to administer this UPWP for FY 2020 and 2021 will be approximately $7.1 million.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Are there any questions for Mr. Simmons?
Mr. Summers, Bob Liming, City of Columbia. I'm sorry I cannot see you all. This may not be the appropriate place to ask the question. I'm not sure who's there from the comment from CMRTA, but I have a question. They have just recently received federal funding because of the pandemic to disinfect the buses. I think it's a very good idea that they provided free public transit.
Audio, I assume it does. But
I just have audio. And the question is, you're providing free public transit, which I think is a wonderful public service in this difficult time. But I'm concerned for over a month, the DART service was still charging while the buses were running for free. Can somebody explain that to me?
Mr. Lemons, is that Bob Lyman?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, this Joyce Dickerson. That yesterday the comment had their full board meeting. So I think that should have been sent to them. I think Mr. Andor would have been able to answer that question better. But they had their big meeting yesterday. That was a part of the discussion.
Sure, that's fine. I'm just concerned.
I will contact
sure.
Get that information.
Yep.
Thank you, Joyce. That's good. I just want to make sure the most needy in our community are provided the same free service that general riders would get. Thank you.
I understand, and I certainly agree. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Dickerson. Are there any questions for Reginald Simmons? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve enclosure number 3?
Mike Fan.
So moved.
Fairfield, so moved.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? The ayes have it. We'll move into number 3, FY 2020-2021 RPWP. It is enclosure number 4 in your package. Mr. Simmons.
We request your approval to adopt the amended FY 2020 and 2021 RPWP. You have to go to the rule committee.
There we go.
We request your approval to adopt the amended FY 2020-2021 Planning Work Program, or RPWP. The RPWP is a planning document that's developed by the Rural Planning Organization, which is the COG, to identify those transportation planning activities that would occur in the upcoming fiscal year. In the past, the RPWP has been developed on an annual basis, but at request of Federal Highways and SCDOT, each COG and MPO develops this document on a 2-year basis. The RPWP contains planning projects and studies, planning analysis, implementation of existing projects, as well as developing the RTIP and the Rural Transportation Plan. Though this is a 2-year document, the projects and the funding are reevaluated on an annual basis. Therefore, the projects that we identified for FY 2020 in partnership with the urban side of the house are the Human Service Transportation Coordination Plan and Public Participation Plan as noted near completion. Long range plan,
Somebody need to mute their phone.
the congestion management plan and the travel demand model are being done on a regional basis with both the urban and rural side together. Those are all under contracts. As mentioned, we are doing a short range plan with the RTA, and we're working on the regional resiliency plan, which is currently in development. The new projects that we're including in the RPWP are the Title VI plan update, as well as the DBE plan update. For FY 2020, we received $85,000 in planning funds from SCDOT. For FY 2021, we received another $85,000 in partnership with the urban side. $486,000 is going to FTA 5307 funded projects. For 2021, that amount increases to a little bit over $1 million. That gives us a total of $1.7 million in federal funds. Once again, everything is an 80-20 local match, which requires $133,000. And for the total funding program for the rural planning work program for FY 2020 and 2021 is approximately $2.1 million.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Are there any questions about the RPWP for Mr. Simmons? Anyone have anything they'd like to follow up with?
I'd like to ask everyone to mute their phones because there's a lot of background noises and it's a little bit difficult to hear.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Move the adoption. Move the adoption, Bob Liming.
This is Bill Leidinger. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Very good.
Can I be heard?
We have a motion.
I'm sorry. This is Bill Leidinger. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I have not seen any of these documents that are before us for approval. And I wonder if the Transportation Committee has reviewed the actual documents themselves rather than just a staff presentation, or have other members of the commission reviewed the actual documents. And if these documents have not been reviewed, does our approval of these documents, having only heard a very brief staff description of them, suffice?
Mr. Leidinger, all the documents are posted on our website. They're on the front page, under news, on the press releases, as well as news. So all the documents are posted and can be downloaded for your review. The documents have been presented on the urban side, have been presented to both the Tech Committee and the Transportation Subcommittee, and has received approval from both committees. On the rural side,
both of those committees have had an opportunity to review the full document.
Yes, sir. I'm chair, and I re-reviewed it. Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you.
This is Yvonne McBride. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes,
this
yes.
is Yvonne McBride. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Oh, I just wanted to, I was just able to log on and wanted to be noted that I'm here and present.
Very good. Thank you so much. Are there any questions for Mr. Simmons regarding enclosure number 4?
Mr. Chair, I move for approval.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon.
Second.
We have a motion. Second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. We will move into item number 4, FY 2021-2027 MPO Transportation Improvement Program, also known as the TIP. It is enclosure number 5 in your package. Mr. Simmons.
while there is a lull, I'd like to say that I am on the meeting. My name is Rusty DePass, and I'm a new member. I'm not sure, but that I don't understand a whole lot that's going on, but I'm here, and I'm. Browse was kind enough to set up this computer in the conference room for me to be able to watch the meeting. So I'm here and probably won't participate much because I don't know what's going on, but delighted to be
Mr.
with
DePass, we're glad to have you. Thank you for being with us today. Go ahead, Mr. Simmons.
We're requesting your approval to adopt the FY 2020 to FY 2027, 2021 to 2027 Transportation Improvement Program. Per federal guidance, every 4 years, in coordination with SCDOT, CMRTA, and other agencies, COG reviews and updates its Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP. This program serves as the short-range capital improvement program for funding and implementation of roadway, transit, and non-motorized transportation improvement projects. Included in the TIP are several major categories, which include the guide share program, signal system improvement projects, intersection improvements projects exempt from guide share, the Transportation Alternatives Program, or TAP, and transit projects. These major categories are divided into two sections. One section are projects that are identified through programs that are by the MPO. The second section include projects that are identified through programs that are administered by SCDOT, Richland County, or another agency. The programs that are administered by the MPO include the guide share program, intersection improvements, transit projects, as well as the TAP program. Therefore, for the FY 2021 to 2027 TIP, the following MPO projects have been identified for programming. CMCOG expects to receive approximately $19.2 million per year between 2021 to 2027. That equals to a total of $153 million over that time frame. Currently, we have $750,000 invested in the Columbia Communications Upgrade Signal System Project. $2.6 million is invested in the Phase 2 Town of Lexington Adaptive Signal Project. $2.1 million is into two intersection improvement projects. One of those projects is receiving primarily all of the money, which is the Leesburg Road at Richard Drive intersection, which is part of the Leesburg Road widening project. $3 million is invested in the Assembly Street Phase 2 project. $6.7 million is remaining on the investment in the Hardscrabble Road widening project. $42.7 million is being invested in the Columbia Avenue, that's S48 widening project located in Chapin. $6 million is being invested in the South Main Street Streetscape project. $36 million is being invested in the Leesburg Road widening project, and then $41.7 million being invested in the S119 interchange improvement project. And as far as the debt service, we still have approximately $9.4 million remaining to be paid back to the debt service. As far as our enhancement projects that we call the Transportation Alternative Program, we've identified 28 active projects that are shown in the current TIP, and there's total over $4.8 million in federal funds that's being invested into those projects. New enhancement projects are expected to be added on an annual basis. In regards to our transit program, under the large urban program, which is known as Section 5307, we've identified $17 million that's currently being programmed for active projects shown in the TIP. We also have received CARES Act funding in an amount of $15 million that's being invested as part of the large urban program on the Section 5310, which is the Enhanced Mobility for Seniors and Persons with Disabilities program. $771,000 is being invested and has been programmed towards those projects as related to the Section 5339 program for bus and bus-related facilities. Approximately $2.7 million has been programmed for those projects, as well as new transit projects will be added on an annual basis. For those projects that are not identified through programs that are administered by the NPO, they are often administered by either SCDOT, Richland County, or another federal program. Those projects include the federal appropriation projects, recreational trail projects, bridges, intersection safety projects, as well as the interstate and corridor improvement projects. So the projects that we've identified for the 2021 to 2027 TIP include the following. On the federal appropriations, we've identified $11.4 million through FY 2027. There's 3 projects that have been identified that equal that amount. The third project that you see, the $10 million for the Seamless City Revitalization Project, was a title grant that was received by the city several years ago. For recreational trails, we have a total of $249,000 through FY 2027. We've identified 4 projects that's receiving that funding. Next slide. For the bridge projects, we've identified 19 projects that are active bridge projects within our current TIP that total a $215 million investment. For the projects that you see shown in white, they have obligations that fall within the 2021 to 2027 window. For the projects that you see shown in red, they receive obligations from previous years that are not shown in this current TIP. Next slide. For the intersection and safety projects, 13 projects have been identified. The total investment to date is $7.4 million that's expected to be obligated through 2027. Likewise, for the projects that you see shown in white, those projects that have obligations that fall within our 2021 to 2027 window. For the obligations that you see shown in red, those obligations have been made prior to FY 2021. And for the interstate and corridor improvement projects, a total of 15 projects have been identified. The lion's share of the investment in those projects is going towards Carolina Crossroads, $209 million. And then you see the other 3 projects that make up the $226 million investment. In review of this document, we're requesting your approval to adopt the FY 2021 to 2027 Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, for.
Very good. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Are there any other comments before we?
Excuse me. Point of order. I just had a question. On the South Main project, Mr. Simmons, we were supposed to get, and I understand with the pandemic and the situation, we were supposed to get a presentation on that specific project. If you'll look in the minutes from the February meeting, obviously that can't be done today. But I do have a question. It's my understanding that on that project, the utility lines, the water lines, all which have to be relocated, that there is not yet a final agreement who will be responsible for the upkeep and the maintenance. That is concerning to me, whether that will be an obligation of the city, the university, DOT, or the county. No one's able to answer that. And I think we need to be very cautious in all projects. Who has the ultimate responsibility for maintaining the project after it's completed? Because those costs are going to be borne by the taxpayers. The other question, Mr. Simmons, is with all the parking spaces to be eliminated between Blossom and Pendleton, what alternatives will be made available for future parking needs in that already congested area? Thank you.
We do have some representatives from SCDOT and USC on the telephone. I see Mr. Bruner, I see Mr. Metz, and I see Mr. Dan. I don't know if one of them want to respond to your questions.
Yeah, Reginald, this is
Thank you.
Barry Maddox. I'm the project manager for SCDOT for the project, and I guess to the first point as far as maintenance, I'm not sure if that was referring specifically to the maintenance of utilities or maintenance of the project itself.
To all, because somebody has to be cash responsible.
Well, first off, I'll address the first. There are quite a few utility relocations, and I see Mr. Krager there, who I believe represents the City of Columbia's interests on for the water sewer relocation there. He may can speak to that. But there are utility relocations associated with the project. The maintenance of those utilities would be the responsibility of the utility moving forward. The project is bearing the cost of relocating the utilities. By and large, there was a certain amount that the city already had money set aside for some upgrades and some rehab that they are contributing to the project. That was money they already had earmarked for that purpose. they're contributing that towards the project. The rest of the cost of the utility relocations is being borne by the project, but that's just the capital cost of actually relocating facilities. The maintenance of those facilities will be handled just as they are on every other maintenance of city-owned or utility-owned or utilities that are owned by private corporations or individuals. So as far as utilities, that's the same as on every single project. There's really nothing out of the ordinary there, other than there is quite a bit of utility relocation costs, which is a lot of the reason why the additional cost of the project that the guide share allocation is going to go towards. As far as maintaining the project itself, it does include a streetscape, and which will be some plantings, some brick pavers, some just an aesthetic enhancement of the corridor itself. That'll hopefully lead to some additional economic investment in the street as well. We are working with the City of Columbia and the university to determine who will be maintaining it. But rest assured, the DOT will not construct a project that doesn't have all the aspects with maintenance predetermined. So the DOT will maintain the road as we always do. We'll maintain the drainage, typical park, or anything that we typically would on a road is if we already owned it, because it is a DOT owned road. The non-standard items, the pavement, the brick pavers, that sort of thing, the landscaping enhancements, all that will either be maintained by the city or by USC. We're working with the city to see what their capacity to take on. If the city's unwilling to maintain something, USC has agreed that they will step in and use their forces to bridge that gap there. But rest assured, we will not send a project to construction if we don't know how the project will be maintained after construction. And
well, thank you. I really appreciate your answer, because that is a concern. We go ahead with the project, but who's responsible? Which taxpayers end up paying for it?
Yes, sir.
So I appreciate. I do appreciate. Thank you. You've answered a question that I've been waiting for 3 months to find out. But the other question is the parking aspect.
And the parking, if I can, Dan D'Alberto, who represents the university, is on as well. He may be better equipped to answer that question. Dan,
yeah, Barry, thank you. Mr. Liming, this is Dan D'Alberto. I've been working with the university, the city, the State House, and the county on this project for, I think, two plus years now. Just very briefly.
Right.
There are probably going to be about 60 spaces along South Main that will be removed, 60 city-owned parking spaces. Those are typically, as you might imagine, used by students. And so what we are doing is the city is not going to lose revenue, because we will provide the city with additional spaces on campus that the university currently uses. And so those spaces will be remunerated back to the city. So the city will not lose any parking revenue as part of that. As far as overall parking capacity, this project is part of a larger plan by the university to go over its entire parking and transportation systems. And so we are in the process of reviewing that now, and that will be revised over the coming probably year to 18 months. COVID has slowed that down, as you might imagine, a little bit. But our plan is to use this project as a portion of a years-long plan to ensure and to incentivize that our students walk and bike more than they like to drive around campus and search for parking spots.
Great. Well, thank you both. I do appreciate this. It took a long time to get the information, but I do appreciate it. I do support the project. And if the motion hasn't been made, I move for its adoption.
Mr. Chairman. Could I ask a question before we go to a vote on this?
Just a minute, please. We have a question for Mr. Simmons.
This is just purely information, because I don't know. But what is the Columbia Communication Upgrade Signal System?
That's a signal system improvement project that's being performed by the City of Columbia with some of their signals in downtown. So
that is traffic signals?
Traffic signals in downtown Columbia. They came to me with a project about 3 to 4 years ago to do some upgrade to some of the signals.
Wow. I question whether $750,000 will correct it because it's a mess, but I'm all for that.
Very good. Any other questions for Mr. Simmons
Yes,
related
sir.
to?
One question.
Yes, sir.
Question from Walt McLeod. Okay, I wanted to ask, the first guy's name was Mr. Maddox. The second guy's name was Dan. The second speaker from DOT. What was his
Yes, sir,
name?
this is Dan
University.
with USC, sir.
Okay, yeah, Dan, I want to ask you, now I think you said 60 parking spaces are being lost. And my understanding is at the present time, we've got parking on two sides of South Main, have 4 lanes that automobiles can travel on, and we're going to do away with the parking and shrink the lanes to 2. And I think that's a fundamentally flawed scheme. I think it's all done in the name of beautification. But in terms of traffic traveling from Blossom Street, if this is implemented, people will have to turn on Assembly or turn on Bull Street, on Sumter Street. And so the ability for traffic to remove itself from Blossom is going to be severely impeded. What is the scheme for thinking that's okay? What is that supposed to help?
Well, sir, let me answer a portion of that first. The project is actually only removing parking spots from one of the 4 blocks. There are a few other parking spots that are being removed as a result of the project on the other 3 blocks, but only on 1 block will parking spaces be removed totally. So there will be parking on 3 out of the 4 blocks. As far as the transportation portion, I'm not sure I understand your question.
Okay, I'll ask it again. So if you shrink the traffic to 2 lanes, that means motor vehicles trying to exit from Blossom Street or trying to go from Pendleton Street to Blossom Street is going to be severely impacted. Is that supposed to be a good idea?
Yes, sir. The plan is, and Barry, you can step in here too if you like, but the plan is really, sir, there's been a years-long holistic approach to kind of changing how we do transportation on campus, which is why you saw some of the parking spaces be removed on Assembly Street. The thinking is we want to get our students to be incentivized to walk and to ride bikes as much as possible. And so that's why you saw some of the parking spaces be removed on Assembly Street several years ago. That was to make it safer for our students to cross Assembly Street. Well, the same concept works here. What we're trying to do is make it more convenient for those commuters who are non-students who live and work downtown to get around campus by taking our students off of the streets, by taking our students' automobiles off of the streets, and making it easier for them to leave their car in a single parking space on campus and then walk, use our shuttle system, and ride bicycles. And so we're trying to make it easier and smarter for the residents and those who work downtown by removing students from using their cars.
Yeah, Dan, go ahead, Barry.
Yeah, just to piggyback off that, and I can provide this if somebody's interested. We did a traffic study just to determine the impact. Yeah, currently you're right. It is a 4-lane with the 5-lane, with the 5th lane as a 2-way left turn lane essentially throughout the whole corridor. The traffic volumes are very insignificant for, or don't require that number of lanes. The traffic volume, certainly the through volume, is almost non-existent. I mean, nobody's going from Blossom to South Main necessarily. People are more likely using Assembly if they're trying to get through. So again, Mr. Gruder could speak to kind of the vision there, but I will say that part of our study, we did pedestrian counts, which typically we're looking at vehicle counts, but here the pedestrians far outnumber the vehicles. So for instance, during a peak hour at the intersection of Blossom and South Main, we're having upwards of 1,000 pedestrians, which is very significant. I mean, certainly for this area, we don't have that kind of pedestrian volumes anywhere. So really it's, you're right. I mean, roads, typically our approach has been, push as many cars through as possible. Well, this road, we found in our study that the road more than accommodates the vehicles and has more than enough capacity, even if we cut it down to 2 lanes, which we're proposing to do, and really just kind of flips it over and makes it more of a pedestrian friendly, since it's so close to campus and just with those huge pedestrian volumes. So to answer your question, yes, I mean, it does seem counterintuitive that we're making the road smaller and it would impact traffic flow. But again, the volumes are just not there to necessitate such a large road right now. And I'll let Mr. Gruner kind of chime in on that. I think he's got something to add.
Yeah, Barry, you articulated what I was going to say. I think the crux of the question is this going to impact the service of the road? And no disrespect for DOT, but you will not reduce a road if it's going to adversely impact the service. So it comes down to just that there are so few cars using that corridor right now because it dead ends at both ends. It just doesn't really lead you anywhere. So the traffic counts are extremely low. And one of a quick anecdote, when I'm talking to students, I beg them not to cross at mid-blocks and jaywalk, but I said, if you absolutely must do this, do it on Main Street because the traffic counts are so low that you can frankly cross about any time during the day. So that's why we really didn't have any concerns or reservations about reducing the number of lanes to serve the traffic. And in the process, we're making it safer for pedestrians.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for your comments. I actually fundamentally disagree, but I think probably I'm outvoted. So thank you for your response.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all of y'all being with us on such short notice. We appreciate you being here. Any other questions for Mr. Simmons? Very good. I believe Mr. Epps wanted to recuse himself from this vote, so let's do that publicly.
Yes, sir, that is correct. I appreciate you acknowledging that. I need to recuse myself due to a conflict with some of these projects that my firm is already involved with. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Epps. I will also be recusing myself from this vote. We do have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? Very good. We'll move into item 5, the 2021. Yes.
Please let the record reflect that Kyle Krager recused himself from that vote as well due to conflict of interest.
Thank you very much. Item number 5, the FY 2021-2027 RPO, also known as the RTIP. It's enclosure number 6 in your package. Mr. Simmons.
Requesting your approval to adopt the FY 2021 to 2027 Road Transportation Improvement Program. Per federal guidance, every 4 years in coordination with SCDOT, CMRTA, and other agencies, CMCOG reviews and updates this transportation improvement program. This program serves as a short-range capital improvement program for funding implementation of roadway, transit, and non-motorized transportation improvement projects. Included in the TIP are several major categories, which include guide share projects, intersection improvement projects, projects exempt from guide share, and transit projects. These categories are divided into 2 sections. One section includes projects that are identified through programs that are administered by the RPO, Rural Planning Organization. The second section includes projects that are identified and administered through other agencies such as SCDOT, South Carolina Parks, Recreation, and Tourism. The programs administered by the RPO include guide share, intersection, and transit projects. Therefore, for this FY 2021 to 2027 TIP, the RPO projects include guide share projects. We receive approximately $2.8 million per year in guide share funds. That equals to approximately $23 million over the time frame from 2021 to 2027. $7.5 million is being invested in the US 1 phases 2 and 3 widening project, which is located in Lexington County. $3 million is being invested or has been invested in the Bush River Road resurfacing project in Newberry County. $1.8 million has been invested in the Surville Road resurfacing project in Fairfield County. $4 million in SA 119 interchange improvement In Lexington County, that project is done in partnership with the urban side of the house, and then $20 million has been invested in the completion of US 1 Phase 1 of that widening project in Lexington County. Projects that are identified through programs administered by the RPO are often administered by either SCDOT or South Carolina Parks, Recreation, and Tourism or another federal agency. Those project categories include recreational trail programs, bridge projects, intersection safety improvement projects, as well as interstate and corridor improvement projects. For this FY 2021 to 2027 tip, those projects include the following. We have 2 intersection improvement projects in the tip. One is the McCoys Ferry Road at Van Borken Road, which I believe is located in Richland County. That has a $1 million investment, and then an $850,000 investment in the Pump House Road Corridor Improvement Project, which I believe is located in Newberry County. Under the transit program, the Enhanced Mobility for Seniors and Persons with Disabilities program, which is Section 5310, $858,000 in prior year and previous obligations have been identified. For the Section 5311, which is the Rural Transportation Formula Funds, $818,000 has been obligated in prior years and previous obligations. And then the bus facilities program on the rural side of the house, Section 5339, $410,000 has been obligated in prior year and previous obligations. From the exempt from guide share federal aid bridge program, 12 bridges have been identified. The investment in those bridges equal over $36 million in federal funds. New bridge projects will be added as they're identified by SCDOT. From the federal aid, interstate, and corridor improvement projects, active projects have been identified within our rural tip and has over an investment of over $431 million in federal funds. And as more projects are identified, we'll bring them to include them into our 2021-2027 tip. Once again, our request today is to ask for your approval of the FY 2021 to 2027 Rural Transportation Improvement Program.
So move. Bob Liming, Columbia.
Second, Susan Brill.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Are there any questions for Mr. Simmons?
This is Bill Leidinger. Don't have a question, but I do have a comment, and that is that I hope we can exert some influence and urge all parties at the federal, state, and local level who are responsible for implementing these plans and actually making improvements to our roadways, ranging from new roads to maintenance on existing roads, to make certain that work is done. As I drive around on streets and roads in Columbia and Richland County, including the interstates, I'm amazed by the number of potholes and other deficiencies I see in the roadways that are simply not being addressed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments for Mr. Simmons?
I just have one question, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, sir. Mr. Cullen.
Reginald, when's the next time that we'll update the our tip?
The overhaul of the tip will be done every 4 years, but these are living documents, so they can be amended at any time.
Okay, so if there are no amendments done, the next time will be 2024?
2024, 2025, we try to coordinate the update of the tip in concert with SCDOT so that we have the same program years in the tip and the STIP.
All right, so they're on 4-year cycle too. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cullen. Anyone else have any comments for Mr. Simmons? Very good. We have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Very good. That concludes our business for this evening. Are there any announcements, committee or staff reports, or correspondence?
I do have one comment, Chairman,
yes,
if I may.
Summers.
Yes, and on the call earlier, at least earlier, was John Ando with a comment. While I was on hold, I contacted him to reassure those who are interested that the free fair started with DART April 7th.
Thank you very much.
Point of order. My question was, why did it take a month to do that? I'm glad they're doing it now, but it took a month when the most disadvantaged in our community had to pay, but those who used the buses didn't. Very confusing. Thank you.
I'll be able to answer that question, Mr. Lyman. The reason why it took a month is because under FTA regulations, you're allowed to discount fixed route fares for up to 30 days for free. And once you exceed the 30-day mark, that's when you have to open it up to the entire transit system. So I consulted with the FTA to ask them how long can promotional fares go for, and when they told us 30 days, that's why I went to the board of directors to ask if we can make the entire transit system free. My only authority is up to 30 days when it comes to suspension of fares.
Gotcha. But you did the system wide before you did the DART system.
No, we did fixed route first when the pandemic officially occurred.
Right.
And then after my authority expired, I consulted with the FTA and then went to the board to ask for the entire transit system. So as of today and until the state of emergency ends, transportation on the Comet and DART is free.
That's great. I guess my question, though, thank you so much, is why didn't we do them both at the same time?
The reason why we didn't do it both at the same time is DART is a very expensive service to provide. It's generally
Sure, for the most needy.
At $42 per passenger, whereas the fixed route we subsidize at about $5 per passenger. And it didn't make fair sense to make the DART system free because we didn't know how long this pandemic was going to last. But when it exceeded the 30 days, I wanted to comply with federal regulations, which is why we did what we did.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, John.
John, thank you very much.
No problem.
Any other announcements? Any old or new business?
Chair, I move for adjournment.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Aye.
The ayes have it. We are adjourned. Y'all have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Happy trails.
Thank you, Chairman.
Best wishes, everyone.